It's a very we're super excited because to me, as a car designer and as more of a, I guess, industrial designer, this car has been, I guess, the very first work that I worked on, that went from 0 to 1, all the way to SOP, exactly the way I hope for, in terms of the visual and the technology, the experience, and how everything's put together, the material, and the most importantly, like I said, super important is actually the price.
Hi everyone, Tu Lee here, one half of the China EVs and More duo. Lei and I are always thinking about different ways to bring you, our audience, relevant and compelling content about the China EV, AV, and mobility sectors, especially now that several companies that we've tracked over the last 70 or so episodes have become global phenomenon. China EVs and More Max is where we bring you that special content, in the form of conversations we have with special guests from those sectors. In this episode, Lei and I speak with Frank Wu, head of design at JIDU, the joint venture smart EV startup formed by Baidu and Geely in March 2021. JIDU recently unveiled the Robo One concept car, which previews the upcoming production model that'll be unveiled in the fall and start deliveries in the first half of 2023. I had the privilege of being one of the few non-employees to get a sneak peek at the Robo One when I visited Baidu headquarters recently, and I was quite impressed with the concept vehicle. The design was clean, mature, and the lines flowed well. JIDU likely has a hit on its hands in 2023 if the software, hardware integration, and manufacturing teams can execute on the concept's promise. Frank shares his journey from a 6-year-old kid having arrived in the US from China all the way to joining JIDU last year as head of design based in Shanghai, where he was originally born. He talks about work culture at JIDU, his experience working at BAIC in Beijing, Cadillac in the US, stints with Ford, Honda, and Mazda, and how his artist dad influenced his decision to study transportation and industrial design, which ultimately led him to attend the College of Creative Studies, or CCS, in Detroit, and that kicked off his automotive design career. This is the first time Frank has shared these intimate details of his life journey as an automotive designer. We pick up where part 1 left off, with Frank beginning to tell us about how he was recruited to JIDU Auto, his experiences so far, and what we can expect from the production Robo One. Let me ask you this. When you were initially having these conversations with Robin and Joe, did they tell you about this compressed timeline? And how intimidating was that?
It wasn't really intimidating, to be honest, because I was literally up for anything. Like I tell you, like, I don't know about you guys, but there's a certain point of your life when there's something that is so, like, you believe it so much that you just kind of close your eyes and you kind of quickly walk through the timeline, and then you quickly put in a few milestones and a few gates, and then you realize this is doable. You know what I mean? It's not like I had no idea what the hell I was doing, right? I knew, like, from 0 to 1 how to do it, and then I just need to put together a picture on how to do it in a very efficient way, because, like I said, a lot of times in other companies, a lot of the time is being wasted.
Yes.
A lot of times being wasted, and like, I just make a very clear example of just a review itself, right? Sometimes somebody says something, and then suddenly you're going back to the drawing board, and then there you go, 3 months gone, or 6 months gone. Actually, 3 months for design, but for the project is actually longer, because the engineering team is also delayed, right? Manufacturing team, assembly team is also delayed, so everything gets delayed. So then it becomes like 6 months or 9 months.
And you had brought up your time at GM, the GPDR, the Global Product Development Process, right? And so traditional automakers, years ago, that was a 60-month process, right? And they've done their best to condense it down to 4 years, right? 48 months, but it's still quite long for them. So I just wanted to give the audience a bit of a background on what legacies normally take to get from 0 to 1, right?
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to comment too much on how other people do it, the reason why is because there's so many reasons. Okay, so like it doesn't matter how I say it. There's always going to be someone that's going to be like, oh, we need to do it that way because of this reason, XYZ reason. I'm only going to comment on how we did it. That's all, and how we did it was, like I said, we took, like, we got the best engineer, the best engineer, the head of engineering guy. We have. I would probably say, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, but I would probably say in the entire automotive industry, probably me as head of design and him as head of engineering, we probably have the best relationship out of any company. I mean, out of any company. Like, you have no idea. I mean, we are so close that, like, anything that, like, the design wants, he will, like, find all kinds of solution to possibly make that thing happen. And I respect him so much because, like, to me, I feel like that is some serious engineering. Like, I feel like so earlier, like what Lei mentioned earlier, like I talk about styling and design. So that's my perspective on a little bit of that. And then there's also engineering part. I also have my perspective on that. Like, to me, I feel like engineering, there's conservative engineering and innovative engineering, right? Or groundbreaking engineering, right? We hear that a lot. What is the difference? The difference is that conservative engineering is when they always tell you, oh, this cannot be done because this is not the best practice, right? Like, we've been doing this for 10 years, we've been doing this for 15 years. That's the way we do it. That's the best practice. That's everything. Why? They have a clear reason why. I'm not saying that they don't. Their reason is it's the most reliable solution. It's the safest solution. It's been tested many times. This has to be it. So again, this is from to me, a conservative engineering sort of the way they respond to design. And then there's the groundbreaking engineering, and that's what we do. The groundbreaking, and I'm sure other companies also probably do it too, but this is what we do. Groundbreaking engineering is what do we do? We redefine these solutions by re-engineering, repackaging, and we integrate everything to the best possible solution. Okay, so instead of having, let's say, 3 different cameras in 3 different areas of the car, we integrate into one area and we make it into one piece. And then it can not only be cheaper to manufacture, but it's also much more efficient, it's much more integrated, and it's easier to replace, let's say, right? But with, let's say, traditional engineering, they're like, okay, I need a camera on the left ear and the right ear. When I'm talking about ear is, the side mirror, right? And then I need another camera on the I need another 2 camera on the roof. I need another lighter on the bulge of the head of the roof, right? And then I need, your ACC. I need your, all the other sensors all over the car. So anyways, so what we do is we trying to find better solutions that can not only be more integrated and make the design much more fluid and efficient, clean and modern, but at the same time, these new integrated solution is completely re-engineered for a better performance. Okay, so the performance is actually better. So again, I'm not going to comment too specific on what exactly it is because our production car is about to release very soon, and we will obviously, as a brand, we'll go over very specifics of all these things. But I am making some of the key, I guess, design philosophy or product manufacturing philosophy here at JIDU that we really sort of believe in.
So, Frank, let me ask you, for our listeners, can you tell us about the product you launched a few weeks back? Because I don't think we've said the actual name of the product that you launched in the metaverse. There was a ton of great coverage globally about it, a lot of excitement for the product. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
I was even interviewed for a story that Wired ran about it. So, but I want to hear about the product in the words of the person who drove design for it.
So what happened was, I think it was June 8th. We had an official unveil of the Robo car, or we call it the Robo One concept, and it's going to be our very first product that's going to be out in the market, and obviously the production car is going to be unveiled in the very near future, in just a few months actually. And obviously, I think Lei earlier also asked a very good question. How did we manage to do all that during the lockdown? And that is the part where this car, we're super proud of as an entire company, and obviously for me and our design team, is because we started from pretty much the first day on how this car is going to be able to, I guess, push the boundary of sort of, what the sort of the, I guess, what we're looking at with the automotive space today. And specifically what it is, I'm not talking about it has to be something so radically as in like it's going to fly, or if it's going to be, like a robot where it's going to like transform, like, like Transformers. But it's more of a product where, for me, it's really a robocars because we integrated the best technology, we integrated the best possible engineering solution, and then the most capable AI sort of system, and then obviously, of course, with Apollo, Baidu's Apollo system, the one of the top autonomous driving capability system into our product, and because working with Baidu, really allowed us to be able to work with their core team from day one to integrate. Again, I keep talking about the word integrate, to integrate their solution and system, autonomous driving solution, into this new design that we wanted without making the car look like it's compromised, right?
Or things are just like bolted on after the fact, right?
Exactly, right. So I'm not going to comment on my previous experience, because I have experience where working with certain lidar, I guess, companies where they force you to put it in one space, in one spot, and if you don't put it there, they will not buy off on the safety of that spot. And the reason why, there's a reason. I mean, the reason why is because as a lidar supplier, they have to calibrate that lidar for the best, safest zone for 99 percentile. I'm sorry, yeah, for the 99% of all the OEMs that they're going to work with. So then, not every single one is going to come to them and say, "I want it in this spot, I want it in that spot," because then they have to recalibrate, repackage, reposition,
Yes.
repack. When I say repackage, like literally repackage the whole thing, and that's all cost and time, and that's just not feasible, right? So I can understand. So, and that's one of the big advantage for us, is because working with Baidu as our key shareholder, almost like our mother company in a way. But for us, we operate completely independently and solo. Is that we can have that resource for them to be able to work in like almost like a SWAT team, where the top guys, the top engineers from JIDU and from Apollo, we sit down with the designers, with the product team, and then from the day one, I keep saying this too, like from day one, we say this is what we want, and then from day one, they go and integrate that location, repackage it, and then calibrate and test it on the road. And then they give us the best possible like location, very close to where we want it, in order to achieve the best and safest solution for the obviously the for the lidar and for the autonomous driving capability. So again, so these are just some of the examples, and I guess also for RoboCar, with Robo One concept, it also showcased, like we mentioned, like 90% of what you see, a lot of them are going to be in production. Some of the key areas that we see is, like for instance, it's one of the very special feature that we introduce is this robotic interaction. We call it the emotional interaction between the car and the user. So today we see a lot of times where the user or the driver can communicate directly with the AI inside the car, right? So almost a lot of cars, like the BBA, GM, Ford, and everybody almost have sort of their own AI in the in-car system. But the outside is still, to me, it's still considered sort of like this 1.0 stage. What is 1.0 stage is that it's just simply hardware, right? It's just simply hardware, just simply there for a either safety or for styling purpose, right? So safety, function, or styling. So, but the function is limited. Like for instance, the lamp. A lot of, not everybody, but a lot of companies still have, like let's say halogen light bulbs for the entry model or the standard models. And then what does halogen light bulb do? It just simply, turn on the light and simply project, light on the road and have turn signals and whatnot. So it's a very, very hardware sort of approach, because that is the limitation of the actual technology. Everybody can understand that. And then in between, you have the 2.0, which I feel like it's more of a multi scenario, right? So multi scenario is when you have like LED, right, or RGB LED, right, or even like let's say Audi and some of the other guys have been playing with is like the OLED, right? But OLED, the manufacturing, the cost, and the maintenance and the life cycle is it's not very, very stable. the cost is way too high. The life cycle is very, very short. So there's a lot of things to consider. I mean, it looks cool, as a concept car or even for production, but if one of the LED, if one of the OLED, like dies, it pretty much the whole thing dies, right? And then to replace it or repair it, the cost is just very, very high. So, anyways, but that to me is multifunction because you can change color, you can change, like sequential light, right? Like, we see on the Mustang, we see on the Audi, sequential light. What is it? You make the physical static light into something that's animated. It's very cool. And then I think it's definitely was a trend from, I think, like, even probably like 10 years ago till today. But for us, we feel like, we want to be able to push the envelope a little bit with more of the new sort of technology that we see today is, pixel lighting or interactive pixels, right? But to be able to harness that technology and integrate it together with the DRL, the low beam, high beam, and the overall interactive pixel, we call it the interactive laser pixel together, communicating together with the voice of the car. So the car can actually talk to you. So you literally, so I can give you a very simple scenario where you get out of your house, right? The car detects, through your NFC card or your Bluetooth or your mobile app and or your key fob, whatever it might be. And within range, the car will greet you, and then it knows that you are the driver, you are the owner, and then it already calculating all the data behind the scene of where you're probably going to go, what time it is, what temperature do you like in the car, what kind of music you like, what do you like to listen to, what kind of seating position that you like, everything. So it literally becomes an intelligent robot that, like I said, when it greets you, it's just one scenario, but you can literally talk to the car. You can say, hey, Robo One, what's the weather? The weather is 87 degrees. It's windy outside today. Did you wear an extra coat? It can literally chat with you in a very human, emotional way. And then when you're, let's say playing music, right? You can have this cool music equalizer on the face of the car and the back of the car. When the car is in idle mode, when the car is in, sleeping mode, when the car is in charging mode, when the car is in pedestrian mode, right? What is pedestrian mode? So when you're at a stop sign, right? So the car can literally wave the pedestrian to walk by. It can say, you can clear the road's clear. You can walk by. It can interact with the environment around you. And this is all going to be in production. So I might be kind of giving a little bit of teaser here, but we're not doing a concept just to kind of, have fun, but we're creating a concept as in a pre-production version of what the vision of the car is going to be like. Obviously, we add a little bit of few other fun aspects of the car that's not going to be in the production. I might give you a little bit of teaser. For instance, like certain things has to do with crash tests, right? We want to have our number one priority is have the safest vehicle. That's it. That's our number one priority. So it's got to be the safest in terms of the crash. In terms of the interior airbag deployment, it has to be the safest in terms of the driving performance, and of course the autonomous driving capability, right? So the autonomous system has to be obviously the safest that there will be on the road. And one of the part that's going to be in production is, for instance, we're going to add the B pillar into the car, right? So for the concept, for the Robo One concept, we took out the B pillar. The reason why we did it is because it's very hard for the audience to see the space of the interior when there's a B pillar.
Sure.
Unless you sit inside the car. You know what I mean? So you got to sit inside the car and then you're going to feel the space. Like, I don't know, like a Mercedes S-Class. Then you feel the leg room, you feel, the whole space, right? Or a GL8, But when you're taking a photo, when people, because you got to understand, most of our audience or the potential customers are not going to see the car in person, right? They're going to be in other places around the world, or they're going to be other places around China. And that we need to showcase how big the room of the interior is, because this car has a 3-meter wheelbase. It's a very, very long wheelbase. And obviously, with that wheelbase, we can enable a very big interior space with very comfortable seating positions for both the driver and the passenger. And when you put a B pillar in the photo, it's going to suddenly feel like there's a lost sense of perspective on the sides, right? So for the concept car, we did it, and again, that's why we call it concept car. It's because we kind of add in a little bit of playful things just to make it fun. But it's B pillar doesn't make or break the car in terms of the design, right? It's something that's fun. And then let's say we're going to have for China models, we're going to have a side view mirror, right? So because the reason why is because right now the digital mirrors are not yet legal on the street in China. So if you don't have the side mirrors, you can't literally drive the car on the road unless it has a full
Right.
autonomous, certification. I think even with that, you still need a side mirror. So because you have to have a driver assist sitting in the driver's seat at all times to test the car. But so we have the side mirror, and then and also another teaser is, for instance, the roof camera. We actually got rid of them for the production. So production, the reason why we got rid of it is because Joe came into the studio one day and he was looking at the car, and he really really loves the car, and then he was like, Frank, he was like, you were telling me about, like how you want to make it super clean, right? You want to make it very timeless, but yet sexy with the super ultra sporty proportion and with this very robotic face and this high tech integration. But why do you have a camera sticking out on the roof? And I was like, Joe, I was like, this is not from me. Trust me, if I have an option, I would get rid of it in a heartbeat. And this is the awesome part about our company. Like Joe's like, so who wanted this camera? I mean, I'm sure he knew it was the autonomous team, right? The autonomous driving team and also our hardware team. And then right on the spot, he called up the head of autonomous driving and the head of hardware, and then asked them to come to the studio. He's like, guys, he's like, I want you guys to give me a better position for that because that looks like crap. And then everybody, this was crazy because like this is the part, guys. Like I was talking about efficiency. Within 2 days, the guys was working like around the clock just to trying to figure out if there's a better solution. And boom, right away, we validated a better position. Later on, it was tested, and then we got it. Obviously, our CMU car in Beijing, and then we tested the feasibility. We tested the FOV, the corner, the FOV for
Field of view.
the field of view, yeah. And then we tested the integration of the camera into the new position, and then what material we're going to use, and then how much the camera is going to be sticking out or not sticking out for that matter. And then we quickly made mock-up, we quickly made prototype, we quickly updated into the car, and then they quickly rendered on the CMU car, and then boom, like it was validated, it was done, and then we were able to get rid of sort of this camera sticking out on the roof. Because I'm not going to name exactly what other brands, but as you know, there's a lot of other brands that have these cameras and big lidar sticking out on the roof of the car. And a lot of times these PR images are actually quite cheated, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like they will actually cheat the PR, the commercials to make it like 70%. Of the actual size, right? But then when the production car is actually on the road, when you see the actual camel car testing on the road, you got like a huge lidar sticking out on your head, and that's just kind of, to me, that's quite ugly. So, anyways, so these are just some of the factors, right? And then there's other part like the interior. One of the first thing you'll notice when you see the interior of the Robo One is that it's more of like a spaceship cabin, or more of like a spaceship intelligent cabin. And some people are like, hey, like let's say like some other brands have done it before. Like let's say Byton. I remember I saw Byton, do this big screen in the interior. Trust me, we're not copying anybody. We're not copying Byton. This is all based on human machine interface. This is all based on the UX logic and the user experience. And then a screen display is all based on the user experience of the driver and the passenger. And the reason why we chose to do it like sort of this wide display is because, first of all, we didn't want to, like a lot of the OEMs you see today is kind of going towards that Tesla route, right? You got that center screen, the iPad on the dash. I remember in the beginning, everybody was bashing Tesla, and then next thing you know, everybody's like copying that layout, right? So it's really funny. But for us, because we're very very we're very very confident, and we're very very sort of sort of all in on this on our capability of autonomous driving, and that we believe what this very high level capability of sort of Apollo technology embedded into sort of the soul of our car. We no longer need to have the driver solely focus 100% so much into the traditional cluster and the traditional driving sort of I guess experience. And that was the time where we decided, where we realized that we can actually sort of have a leap, or more of a really more of a leap, or a paradigm shift in terms of how the interior can be laid out for the best user experience with the best technology sort of integrated based on the actual capability of the car. And having a wide screen is because, first of all, we don't have an AR HUD, we don't have an HUD. And the reason why is because, first of all, to have an AR HUD, you have to carve a huge hole into the top of the IP.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
A huge hole, right? And the cost of AR HUD is not cheap, for FYI, it's just for everybody to know. And then the other one of the big affecting factors to have HUD or AR HUD is that the exterior glass, the windshield, has to be actually quite stood up and has to be very flat. So you won't be able to get this very, very sexy curvature of the exterior for the windshield between your center line to your A pillar, right? And then you're gonna have this kind of blocky windshield. And that's not something that, first of all, that's not something I think any exterior designer will want, or interior designer for that matter. But also, we didn't feel like that was the key driver for good customer experience with the technology that we had. So we wanted to create. I don't know if you know, but we're using Power Joe, right? So the Qualcomm, the Snapdragon,
Yeah, apology.
yeah, the
Mhm.
8295,
Yep.
the next generation of the Bio, which is the A155, 8 times faster in terms of calculation and overall processing speed, and that allow us to actually use the AI sort of technology and the AI calculation on that chip along with all the other processing requirement, and also is a huge sort of opening slot or a huge opportunity for us to design a complete new UI UX concept into the Robo One concept car, or production car actually. Concept car, you see the demo, but production car, literally, it's a full on 3D immersive UI design. And it's not like today where you see like these, 2D cartridge design, right? The
Sure.
cartridge design, you've been seeing it for the past like, 5, even 10 years, to be honest, right? And you see every OEM kind of like take that concept, pretty much take that UI concept and then change the color a little bit, change the transparency a little bit, change the font a little bit. But overall, in terms of the ideology of it, it's still the same. But we kind of scrap that and we literally start from the ground up. And then we for our team, we actually recruited video game designers. We recruited motion designers. We recruited UI designers, graphic designers, and all bunch of very, very talented, super talented designers from a lot of different industries. We didn't include just guys from UI. Like, okay, I go to another OEM and say, hey, would you like to come and work with JIDU? No, we actually recruited guys from like Unreal. We recruited guys from like Unity. We recruited guys from very, very prestige, motion or video game background, and they were able to deliver the 3D effect and experience that we wanted because they are working from a complete different perspective and different
Right.
experience. And that is something that we want to push
Let
for.
me add this, Frank, because it's really important because you're changing habits. You still need to design it so that it makes sense and it's simple, right? And
Correct.
we all know that simple design is really, really tough.
Correct. And that's the UX part, right? So that's the UX part. So a lot of times, I think for designers and I guess for everybody, they need to understand the difference between UX and the UI, right? So
Yeah, please explain that.
so the UX part is pretty much the key fundamental of the layout of how these functions is going to be in the interior, right? And that's how it's going to define your user experience overall. And that is the ergonomics of it, the visibility ergonomics, the actual physical ergonomics, and of course a lot of other things. But for instance, one part is the UX can define how far your hand is going to let's say reach in terms of the reach zone on this display. So you're not going to put important information or very important information on the passenger side if it's meant for the driver, or you're not going to put very important setting information or setting icons on the passenger side if the driver can't reach to that touching point, right? So anyway, so these are part of the UX part, right? And then the UI part is when all these things are defined, the layout, the size, and the actual functions, then the designers can actually have the space to design the visual of it. Does it want to be 2D, or does it have to be 3D, or does it have animation, or does it have animation? Does it have I don't know, like anything that has to do with the visual part within the boundaries of the UX, and then when you collectively combine them together, that's the entire HMI system, right? So again, so for us, we started from ground up to try to redefine that, but keeping the basic logic of the best, I guess, user experience for UX, and then also the best user experience for the UI in terms of visual, in terms of sound, in terms of motion, in terms of seeing the right information at the right location at the right time and then display it very correctly and vividly. Those are all the things that we call the corner case that we've studied throughout, the development of the HMI. So again, the widescreen display for one matter is because of the all new UX that the UI and the UX that we define or redefine, and then we also have a very very special steering wheel design. We call it the sort of the space remote, and then that is really kind of it's a U-shaped steering wheel that we believe that no longer need to obstruct the display in front of you, because there's so many displays that are like kind of puzzled together, right? There's like three pieces, and you see these huge border gaps, and then the UI UX or the UI design between three displays are all very different. We want to create a cohesive design, an immersive design that is reliant on the technology of the screen and the actual the GPU and the processing speed of the actual chip, and of course the UI UX all combined. And this is also the reason why we don't need an AR HUD, because we can display all 3D content information at a video game engine sort of level. Everything real time. I mean, based on the camera sensors, LiDAR sensors, everything is all real time. So when the car is in driving mode, you see all the buildings and the people and the road and the pedestrian, everything around you, real time, 3D, all 3D. And then that is something that we think is going to be, we're very proud of it, and we also think it's going to be a game changer in the next few years in the industry.
So Frank, a few episodes ago, we talked about the Robo One, and specifically the 10% that will not make it to production. Now, you just confirmed it's going to have a B pillar. It's going to have side view mirrors. The other ones, the retractable steering wheel, the pop-up, or the collapsible LiDARs, we predict that they will come in different form as well. Can you speak to that?
I think you have a very good prediction, and I'm sure within I'm sure within the three predictions, I'm sure you're probably going to get one or maybe one right at least.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to spoil too much, because that's the fun part, right? I mean, and then again, you got to give me the credit for doing a concept car, because I do want people to guess, because then you lose.
No, right on, man.
But
yeah. And then one question on the cadence. Now, I know there's a limited edition of the production car that'll be revealed in the fall. Does that mean there's another production version that will be revealed later?
Correct. So I guess I can comment on that. So that's a very good question. So within the next few months, okay, the exact date is yet to be set in terms of the official announcement, but we will have a limited edition, or we call it a special edition. The first 1,000 units, it's going to be in the pre-order. And then that special edition is gonna showcase, or it's gonna consist of the highest trim, obviously the highest trim in terms of the range, in terms of the autonomous systems, and the overall car as an entire whole. And then also it's gonna have some special unique designs that from both exterior and interior that you won't be able to see in the standard models that we will announce later in the Guangzhou Auto Show.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's actually quite special. It's actually quite special. The price will be announced very soon. And then when we do unveil that car, first of all, it's fully production. And when we do unveil that car, there will be a lot more specs going to be unveiled during that event.
So Robin Lee, he already mentioned that it's going to be in the 200,000 RMB range.
I'm sure.
And you'll stick
that's going to be the start. That's going to be the starting price.
What was that?
Yeah.
Starting price?
That's going to be the starting price.
How much did you say starting price?
200,000, yeah.
200K?
No, it didn't say starting price. Actually, it says it's above 200,000. It's not starting 200,000. Just want to correct everybody. I'm not sure how that got misinterpreted, but it's above 200,000. Okay. And it's going to be, I guess, let's just put it that way. Very, very easy for the audience to understand. It's going to be priced below the Model Y.
Okay.
So I guess we don't have to really guess
Very
like
good.
it's going to be 200 something or 200 this. It's going to be cheaper than the Model Y. and then that I think give you kind of a perspective of the affordability and the value for the bang for the buck that you're going to get. So it's a very we're super excited because to me, as a car designer and as more of a, I guess, industrial designer, this car has been, I guess, the very first work that I worked on, that went from 0 to 1, all the way to SOP, exactly the way I hope for, in terms of the visual and the technology, the experience, and how everything's put together, the material, and the most importantly, like I said, super important is actually the price. We don't want to design something that's so cool and people are like, oh, that's awesome, I love it. How much is it? Oh, wow, it's too expensive. We don't want to, because you have, brands out there that, they might do some interesting stuff. I'm not sure if it has the best user experience, but it's quite, flashy. Let's just put it that way. And then young people, they see at the store, whatever, they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. And how much is it? Oh, it's 800,000. Whatever it is, it's a million, whatever it is.
Leif,
So
Frank's remembering his art center experience, and he's like, "I love this." He's like, "How much does it cost to go here?" You're remembering that experience, right?
Right. No. I mean, right? I mean, no. You're absolutely right. It's, again, to me, that's my interpretation of called sort of buyer's purchase point. Like I might not be a professional at describing this, but the way I interpret it is buyer's purchase point is the moment when you want to buy it, or you have the desire to buy it, and then there's the factors around it. There's the factors of information that provides to you that you can actually afford it. So that is buyer's purchase point, right? Affordability is so important. Like affordability is like, if I make, let's say, $3,000 a month, let's say, I'm just making a hypothetical, an example. If I make $3,000 a month, maybe I can afford something that's between 300 to maybe 500 on a purchase that I feel like I still have 90% or 80% of my savings, right? But if I make 3,000 a month and I'm spending 4,000 or even 3,000, or even, to me, even 2,000, that is not affordable, because that is way above your income ratio, where in terms of the long term, you're going to go in debt, right? So that's the debt ratio concept. This is exactly what I was talking about with the student loan, right? So you take out, let's say 150,000 student loan, and then your annual, your annual interest rate is at 7.75%. Your debt ratio is just going to get higher because your principal is going to roll in, your interest is going to kick in the first year when you take out the loan. So again, that is, to me, not affordable. But obviously, the way, the reason why many of the students do it is because we have no choice. We have to do it because we got to go to school, right? So that's a whole different topic. That's a whole different topic. But what we want to do, exactly what you're saying too, is that from my experience, my some of the struggles and all that, I really, as a designer, I want to create something where people can desire to buy and they can actually afford it. That is something that's super important, And then when you're looking at Tesla Model 3, Model Y, I think one of the key success to these two products is that, first of all, I'm not going to go into too much details with it because there's a lot of great things about the products: manufacturing, component feasibility, component strategy, carryover strategy, software, and all that integration. All that stuff is a lot of positive things and good things to mention about the Model Y and Model 3. But the reason why it's doing so well is because they price it at a very affordable price point, where Model S and Model X in China is not selling that well anymore, is because it's well over 1 million RMB, right? So your market shrinks. Suddenly your market goes from, like, let's say, I don't know, hypothetically 15,000 on average per month per model, in sales. You go into like, 1,000 a month, or maybe some companies like less than 500
right,
a month.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So we want to be able to cater to the mass audience, delivering something that, again, earlier in the beginning, I mentioned about cost, I mentioned about the balance, is because those are all reality factors. We need to consider these things, because I want to create something that has great product quality. I want to create something that has great engineering and also deliver the safest car and the safest autonomous driving experience. but yet with great design. I can't say I want, this awesome design, but yet it's defined to human factors, or it's completely against the basic ergonomics, or quality issues, or stamping issues, or you know what I mean? Like, it's going to cause a lot of manufacturing problems that later on you don't want to see these problems on the road driven by a customer. So these are very important things I think as a designer needs to think about throughout the process when they're developing a car. When they're part of the design process.
No, I think one of the advantages that JIDU has is having Geely as a manufacturing partner, having so much experience across different types of vehicles that they manufacture. So I think that's going to be a big bonus once you get into
Absolutely
production start. But design freeze must be right around the corner, right? Because suppliers need to get tooling out and all that stuff, right? So
what do you mean design freeze? You're talking about for our car?
Yeah, for the Robo One, it's got to be pretty soon, right? Like, in order to get the
Design
tooling.
freeze is pretty soon for our second car. That's how fast we are.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, which car are you talking about? Design freeze for Robo One has been done a long time ago, buddy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're slow,
because we're going to be unveiling the second car at the Guangzhou Auto Show.
Okay.
So design freeze is very close, because for Guangzhou Auto Show, I'll give you a little bit of secret. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but we will be doing we will be showing a production design for our second car at the Guangzhou Auto Show.
Wow.
So it's not a concept car. It's a production design ready at the Guangzhou Auto Show. A little bit of a teaser here. I don't think I told anybody, but because I think you guys are great, and I just want to be able to kind of give a little bit of insight to not only to you guys but also to our audience. So that's what I was talking about, efficiency. It's that it's almost like in Chinese there's a saying, 就是恶性循环 or 良性循环, right? So 恶性循环, what it means is if it's a negative system or negative environment or whatever it might be, it could be anything. It can cause more negativity, right? Because it's a system. It's like a negative OA, right? It's a cycle, negative cycle. That's what I guess what the translation is. And then there's a positive cycle. The positive cycle is when you build the foundation right, you build the culture right, you build the mindset right, you build the system right, you build the OA right. You cut out a lot of the politics. You cut out a lot of the middle, unnecessary things or inefficient timeline or inefficient reviews or meetings or whatever it might be. Like the meetings, like we have our meetings within I guess mostly within an hour, and then the meeting has to have a decision. We don't have wasted meetings. And then before the meetings, everybody have to read the meeting introduction before you even come to the meeting. So let's say Lei is reading the meetings of what the next meeting he's going to go to. During the, the 10-minute or, 30-minute break in his office or whatever it might be. So then when he goes to that meeting, everybody knows what we're going to talk about. Everybody already knows what the problem is going to be. There's no questions. There's no what are we talking about today? Can you explain to me the problem? Everybody already knows. This is why I said it's a system of efficiency from 0 to 1. Everybody working that kind of mindset. So for design meetings, same thing, right? So when I go to a design review, everybody already have introduced to me what they're going to talk about. And I already check it on my phone or my Outlook, right? And then I already see all the topics and all the key issues and everything. So when I go there, I'm like, hey guys, let's talk about the 3 most important things. 1, 2, 3, let's go, right? We don't spend, the first 15 minutes doing a soft introduction and then, another 10 minutes talking about what the problem is. And then another blah, 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 people asking these questions. And then later on, nobody has the solution. And then you have an hour meeting or 2-hour meeting, and then there's no conclusion.
Right.
So again, I'm just kind of picking out these little examples here and there of what I talk about company efficiency. So with our second car, I mean, it's super efficient. It's even more efficient than the first car. The reason why is because first car we built from scratch, and then the team was built from scratch. And people come from all over different kind of background environment, different company environment, some from tech company, some from hardware, some from, traditional OEMs. And everybody kind of had to go through a phase of friction, right? So that everybody was polishing with each other to essentially get into this new JIDU, the JIDU mode or the JIDU work mode or the work environment. And then now for the second car, everybody has we're all set, we're ready to go. We've done it. It's we've gone through the training over and over and over and over and over again for our first car. And the second car is like, it's natural. It's just like, we just do it. It's so easy. So like I said, that just becomes a positive cycle, and it just gets better and better and better. Where if you're in some sort of a very, very big, very big corporate, political kind of environment where there's a lot of levels, a lot of meetings, and a lot of decision makings, and a lot of vetoes, whatever it might be, to push something good and pure from zero all the way to the market with the original vision and the original soul of the actual product is super, super, super hard. And do it in a short time,
Right.
it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible,
So, Frank, it's been awesome talking to you for the last 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Wow.
What we will do is invite you back before or
Sure.
after the Guangzhou Auto Show so you can tell us about product number 2, all right, in more detail. These last few questions are just for fun, okay? So
Sure.
first, were you a Detroit style pizza fan? Because in
Love
Shanghai,
it.
the best Detroit style pizza is home slice, I think, right? So I don't know if you've ever had home slice. You're not a big fan? Not a home
Oh, no,
slice?
no. Home slice. I'm a big fan. I got home slice record on my Meituan, like home slice, and then Burger King, home slice, McDonald's. If you look at my track record, it's still mostly American style food. I do order dim sum, and I order like Cantonese style. Yeah, but home slice is awesome.
Joe's is pretty good.
Joe's is like I had a bad experience with Joe's because I went there one day when it was quite late, and it was the first time I had Joe's pizza, and then the pizza they served me was very dry, and it was very you know what I mean, like dry pizza,
Yeah.
So that wasn't the best experience. So since then I never went to Joe. I kept ordering home slice. But to anybody that is going to visit Shanghai, or anybody that hasn't been, that lives in Shanghai, you got to visit. I think it's called Bar Central. There's a pizza shop called Bar Central right next to Fat Cal.
Yep.
So Fat Cal Burger, right? So that place is off the hook, and that place on Sundays they have buy one get one free. So that's a really so I only go on Sundays because I get to buy one get one free. So
As the fat guy that I am, I love buy one get one free. So, so Frank, the next time you're in Beijing, there is a friend of mine who grew up in Rochester Hills
okay.
and went to University of Michigan. He lives in Beijing and opened a pizza shop called Pie Squared, which is
Okay.
Detroit style pizza. 2 years ago, he won the Pizza Cup. So he's a good dude. Although he's a Wolverine, he's a really good dude. But I'll have to take you next time you're in Beijing.
Sure.
So my second question, and then Lei will ask you one. What were you driving in Detroit, and what do you drive right now?
That's a really good question. How do I put it? Okay, so when I was in Detroit, I did buy my first car. I bought my dream car. I mean, that time it was my dream car. It was the Nissan 350Z. And
Oh, nice. Okay.
yeah, and
Ooh.
the funny thing was, I don't even remember if I had my license at that time. I think I had my driver's permit, and then because of that, my dad actually went to Chicago and picked it up from me. I remember that very clearly because I bought it on eBay, and then it was a pretty good deal. So I couldn't buy a brand new car, so I bought a used car on eBay, and then it was my dream car.
Nice.
So he drove it back, and then when you have your permit, you can drive with a registered license holder next to you. So I drove it
Yep.
for a while, and then later on I got my licensing in Michigan. So that was my first car, and then later on I drove a few cars in between. I drove the Scion FRS.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the FRS. Wasn't a big fan of FRS because the torque was just really low. I mean, it's a nice, like a little track car, good for turns and all that. But I like it on I like it on the straightaway with the, especially on on the highway and all that. So I quickly got rid of that car, and then I ended up getting. That time later on, that's when I had my daughter, and then I had to switch to something a little bit more space friendly, and then I got the Infiniti FX35, and
Okay.
that car
Yeah.
wasn't bad actually. I actually thought it was a very nice, like a SUV crossover, performance, vehicle. It was quite nice. I think it had the same engine as the 350Z, had a good time with that. But then I think one of my most favorite cars, aside from the 350Z, was later on I traded in for a brand new Golf GTI. I think it's the
Okay.
7th gen GTI. I mean, that car I absolutely loved, to be honest. That car, I had an emotional bond because it just drove right. It did the right thing at the right time when I wanted to do it, when I wanted to brake, when I wanted to press, when I wanted to go fast, when I want to turn. And the exhaust pipe sounded nice and pristine. The radio, I think I had Marshall radio. The radio sounded really nice. And then I had a good memory with that car. I love that car. I gotta say, I love that car. And I even bought a Yoda, a Star Wars Yoda bobblehead, and then I put it on the dash because I thought it was like it was special. So I kind of like that's kind of like a unconscious kind of thing that people would do, is like when you find something special, you will integrate or enhance more special things to you to be a part of it.
Personalize it, yeah.
Right, exactly, like your home, right? Like if you live in a like a place where you feel like it's really like your home, then you'll buy things to decorate it, to make it even more special. And that's what I did with the GTI. And then I was sad to let it go when I was moving to China, but luckily I think I sold it to a very good owner to take care of it. So yeah, so now what I drive, now I don't drive anything. Now I don't drive anything. So living in China for the past, now it's been 4.5 years now. The main transportation, I remember when I was in Beijing, I was living Shengyu, right? Is it Shengyu?
顺义
Shengyi, yeah, Shengyi. And then at that time I was taking a subway from Shengyi to Wangjing, and then from Wangjing transfer the subway to Sanlitun. And then it was like an hour and 15 minutes, and then I had to wait in the subway, and there's just a lot of people. And this is just me. I mean, everybody's different, but I just don't like to be squeezed by a lot of people. And people like sneezing and like just I'd rather pay a little bit and just get a DD. That's it. So anyways, and then I got a host DD story for next time, but there's a reason why I don't ride the express. I only ride the premieres because I literally like can't handle the express service. It's just so bad. The guys don't even turn on the AC during the
Yes.
summertime. The wintertime they don't turn on the heater. I'm like, guys, seriously? Like, but so you pay a little bit more and then you have a much better experience. So guys, again, this is what I talk about with customer experience, right? So we're willing to pay a little bit, like as a company, we're willing to invest a little bit more money in things that people really care about. And then cohesively as a whole, people will feel it, they will experience it, and then it will create a lot of positive sort of overall feedback, as a user. And then for me, I'm just talking about my experience, writing the DD. It was, the express was a nightmare. And then later on, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to save that extra, 5 RMB or extra 8 RMB. I'm just going to pay that extra and get a Premier. And you can also get a free, you see, like I'm drinking the Premier bottle, So every time I get in a Premier, I just grab the bottle and then. So anyways, so yeah, it was good times in Beijing. I actually do miss Beijing. Has great tacos. The taco bar, man, that place is amazing.
Yes.
But there's a lot of great things. To be honest, for me, I always feel like you got to appreciate everything about your life, guys. Seriously, like I appreciate my time when I was in Vegas. I appreciate my time when I was in Glendale, when I was in Santa Monica, when I was in Detroit, right? I appreciate the time when I was in Beijing and Shanghai, and who knows, maybe in the future I might be somewhere else. I don't know. But I will remember that. Lei was asking about the lockdown. Lockdown was an experience of a lifetime. Like that was no joke. I mean, the first month it was literally really hard, and luckily, I think I want to quickly answer your question. Is like how do we get through all that? It was because, like I said, we actually prepped a lot of the work, and it was done before the lockdown. So we were actually ready to go to Beijing Auto Show, originally scheduled for April 19th, right, or April 20th. And our Robo Day was originally supposed to be April, I think it was 18th or
18th.
Yeah, April 18th.
Yeah.
And then I got moved back because everything got moved back. So I mean, the entire big events in Beijing and Shanghai got suspended. So what happened was that everything was on standby, and then we were prepping for all the Robo Day acids, and our entire team, the entire company, everybody was working from home. And then we got another group of team that was working actually at the hotel. So the company actually paid for like the entire hotel. We actually booked the entire hotel. And then like the funny thing is people might be like, is it really just 很苦啊 or something, right? Very, very hard to live at a hotel. Actually, it was a 5-star hotel and a guaranteed meal, 3 meals a day, every single day, and then room cleaning, everything. So I actually regret not staying at the hotel because when I was at home, I originally thought it was going to be April 1st to April 5th, 5 days, right? And then it turned out to
Yeah.
be 65 days, right? So it was a huge lockdown that nobody expected it. So obviously it interrupted a lot of things throughout, but efficiency of the lockdown during the work from home was super high. We were working like we were just literally getting everything done, like everything by remote. And then the guys were working on the models, the designs, the PR stuff, and then everything. And then with the metaverse, right? So with the metaverse unveil, we thought it was actually, it was quite an interesting sort of an approach because everybody does it on offline, on stage with a car and all that stuff. And we as a technology company, we thought like, it's almost like like a tech kind of approach where we want to create like a digitalization unveil to kind of create more topics, because I think one of the things about, especially like with the media industry, is people like to have new topics and new discussions open for discussion, and people talk about what they like and what they didn't like. And our approach and our attitude is we will always listen to the customer's voice and be able to continue to refine and improve ourselves and our product, and also the way we do business as a company. So anyway, it was fun. And then luckily, right after the lockdown ended, we had our the media friends and everybody came by large groups. And the moment they saw the car in person, and then too, actually, did you see the car in person yet?
I have not. I'm wanting to.
I'll schedule you a time to check it out. We got a car in Beijing.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'll schedule you a time to check it out in Beijing because we actually got the purple, the signature color in Beijing. I shipped it
Oh,
during the
nice.
lockdown, and you have no idea how hard it was for me to ship that car. It was like literally like breaking out of a prison. It was not easy. Like again, I was talking about like as a startup working from nothing to like to the end result, and also working in that condition with lockdown. It's like times that by 3. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm glad we did it.
So what were you, impressed? There's been a lot of recent reveals. Right after Robo 1, there was the Neo ES7, the Li Auto L9. Just today, the ID Aero, and over the weekend, the Avatar 11. Right, all of these new smart EVs. What have been some of the recent reveals that you were impressed with from a designer?
I mean, I think the things that I'm impressed with might be the things that I look for now today as a designer might be very, very different than the things that I look for, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So I just want to make that clear. Like there's a few things that I am impressed. For instance, like with the I guess with the Li Auto, I guess not necessarily with the design, like the visual design itself, because it's clean and it's a very spacious interior SUV. But I think the way they brand or the way they did the PR, right? The way they integrate, a lot of people, family, kids, pop's mom and dad into the car and shot the commercial and shot the photos in a very lifestyle way. I think that was a very, very good, I guess, good strategic PR approach on how they did the online unveil. But I mean, it was actually more offline without any audience.
Sure.
Is there like very, very new technology? I mean, that I guess you guys have better answer than I do, right? But I mean, I think with the Neo ES7, I think it's obviously they're introducing the new design DNA based on the ET7 and ET5, right? Clearly, you can see that. If you ask me which one do I like better, do I like the ES6 design better? Do I like the ET7 design better? I would probably say I like the ES6 The reason why is because I feel like it has a little bit more content, and then it doesn't look so empty. I feel like the ES7 looks a little bit empty,
Right.
because the mass volume of the SUV is obviously clearly higher and is bigger than the sedan, because sedan is very squeezed,
Yep.
right? So you can have that. I guess they call it the shark nose. You can have that shark nose
Yep.
more. A little bit more well proportioned, but the moment you make it an SUV, you suddenly take that same I guess
Language.
design space, yeah, and then you stretch it, then suddenly it becomes a little bit, it feels a little bit empty.
Right.
So, and then in regarding to the product segment of the car, I feel like it's right between ES6 and ES8, and then the actual price point is I think it's 468,000.
Yep.
I think somewhere around there.
Yep. It's about 100K more than the ES6.
Yeah, and then but the thing is, it's to me, I feel like it's a little bit fighting with the ES8 because the size is quite big enough, and then it has better specs, and then obviously it's got the latest software. So I'm not going to comment on their product strategy, but I do feel like I have some questions about what exactly that product really represent in terms of their portfolio. But the design, like I said, it's it feels a little bit too clean, and I think ES6 is a very good balance. I think ET5
Sure.
ET5 is a good balance for this sort of mid-sized sedan because, like I said, proportion is great. The design language fits well on the car. What are the other unveils lately? Like,
well, I didn't get a chance to see the ID Aero, which is the ID7, the Volkswagen.
No, I haven't seen that tonight yet. I haven't seen that yet. I'm going to check it out later. Yeah.
But I think we're okay with that. The final question: iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Okay.
iPhone. Sorry, I had bad experience. Like, to me, it's all about experience. If I had a bad first experience, I kind of don't forget because nothing against Android. Please understand, nothing against. It's just I'm just simply speaking from my experience when I bought my first Android. It happened to be a Samsung Galaxy. I think it was like a very, 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 very early generation one, and it was a brand new phone. And then that was the first time I switched my iPhone to a Samsung, and it was running Android. And then that time, and again, I'm not talking about today. Today is a completely different story. It's just that the interface felt a little bit too complicated, and the battery died so fast that I was just like, I think I'm just gonna go back to iPhone forever. So
sure.
I'm a diehard iPhone fan. Yeah,
that's the key, though, right? Because it could have been the Samsung device that was the issue with the battery, but the entire user experience wasn't great for you, and that's why you left the platform, right? So I think
exactly, and that's how future. I think smart cars or EV vehicles or just in the vehicle industry, it's going to be the same thing, right? You're gonna have a great design, but then maybe the battery range is very low, right? Or you have a very high battery range, you have very good driving, capability, but the design is very bad. I mean, that's why when I mentioned earlier, it's a collective of everything as a great product. It's not just the design, it's not just the styling. It's like you create a cool light, right? But the light, you got to have very good LED source. You got to have very good quality of the lighting, and like LED. What kind of LED is it going to be? This micro LED, large LEDs? How far are they going to be placed apart? Are they going to be placed apart 19 or 20 millimeters apart? Or are they going to be placed, let's say 12 millimeters apart? Because these decisions made by the R&D team is going to change the quality of the actual visual of the lighting when it's on the road, right? So all these are customer experience that people can see and they can feel it. Audio, right? What kind of audio are you going to use? Is it going to be 3D audio? Is it going to be, how many bass, how many, like how many audio that we're going to be using? Some cars use 32 audio, some cars use 16, some cars use 8. So all these are decisions that people will respond to. Material, same thing. Is it going to be leather? Is it going to be PU? Is it going to be suede, or is it going to be plastic? Right? Even something as detailed as gloss black. There's different finishes of gloss black. There's painted gloss black. There's two coat gloss black. There's the what is that called? There's another finish. Anyways, it looks like gloss black, but it's like more expensive than gloss black.
Like a pearl? Yeah.
No. It's I forgot the name, but anyways, there's another technical name for it. But it's gloss black, but it's more scratch resistant. All these are costs, right? They cost more. So, or some of the OEMs, and I've seen all kinds of cases where some of the OEM the project leader, they're like, gloss black, give me the cheapest one. They all look the same to me. To me, I feel like that's a very irresponsible statement. It's a super irresponsible statement because gloss black, there's different coatings, there's different finishes. The better ones, the more expensive ones, they're more scratch resistant. And then throughout the long term, people will appreciate that quality. So, anyways, and then they're more less prone to the visual of the fingerprints, right? Because on gloss black, you touch it and suddenly there's like fingerprints all over the place. But then there's certain special coatings, there's different type of finishes. So again, to me, I feel like to design something that's really, really good for the best customer experience, you have to not just look from a design visual or just the simple material, but on a deeper level of how the technicality or the technology can enable that design to be as great as possible. That's the way we look at it. Yeah.
Okay. So, hey, Frank, thanks again for chatting with us. We're big fans of JIDU. I'm looking forward to touching, feeling, hopefully driving the Robo One very soon. And when it hits the road in 2023, we'll be keeping a close eye on your progress. So please stop by again. We're going to invite you again back for the Guangzhou Auto Show.
Yeah, super excited. Thanks a lot, for having me. And I think it turned out way more fun than we expected.
Hi, this is your co-host Lei Xing. Following a rather detailed recollection of his life journey and how he ultimately ended up being at JIDU in part 1, Frank takes us into the world of design at JIDU in part 2 and offers vivid examples of his design philosophy, features of the Robo One, as well as internal processes of how design is interconnected with other stakeholders within and outside the company. Like Frank said, it was way more fun than we expected, and it was certainly way more detailed than we expected. But I guess being a designer, his detail-oriented nature shouldn't be all that surprising after all. Both Tu and I learned a ton listening to Frank, and we hope you, our listeners, found his perspectives valuable as well. We wish Frank and JIDU the best of luck as the company embarks on its next stage of development and look forward to the Robo One hitting the streets next year.
Lei and I will be sharing more of our conversations with the men and women around the world, moving the EV, AV, and mobility sectors forward as part of this China EVs and More Max series. Some folks will be instantly recognizable, but some will just be people that are doing amazing things in the space that we think deserve to be highlighted. Don't worry though, Lei and I will continue to host our live weekly China EVs and More Twitter Spaces room that summarizes that week's most important news coming out of the China EV, AV, and mobility space. For those that can't catch the live show, you can find the China EVs and More pod on all major platforms or wherever you normally get your podcasts. As EV adoption reaches its global tipping point, it'll be even more important to stay updated on everything that's happening here. Lei and I are confident that China EVs and More is the best resource to do that. Until next time, as always, thanks for listening.